flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions to the agenda.
There are no additions to the agenda.
Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Support. It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Citizens' comment, there being none. Action item, consent agenda.
It's a recommendation of the superintendent that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Discussion, general update on the coronavirus.
A recommendation of the superintendent that we hear a discussion of Harbor Beach Community School in response to COVID-19 at this time. I have some general pieces for you, and then of course I welcome you to ask any questions that you have. First thing, as you've noticed probably tonight, we're practicing or modeling the social distancing as we've added in a couple of tables, and I can't hardly touch you. So we are trying to model what we are asking everyone else to do, and I feel a little bit lonely here by myself. He's way out there. We need like a cup and a string to be able to talk to people, but I do have a couple of things that I think would be of interest to you. There has been no action taken as of, at least right before the meeting, no action taken on a reduction of 180 days from the state. I don't know if there will be, but that is one thing that's come up a lot. You know, we have a requirement of 180 days of school, of instruction, and 1,098 hours of instruction. We have had 7 snow days already. We are forgiven, all districts would be forgiven up to 6, and they could apply for 3 additional ones. In Harbor Beach Community Schools, because we applied for some professional development, we could qualify for 1 additional one using our professional development to count as a day. But even if you add all of those up, the days that we have here that we must take off, we would be short of 180 days. So either we would have to extend the school year to make up for that, or if there was legislation that changed the 180-day requirement, then we could address that afterwards and talk about what we think is the best practice. Let's see. The governor's order did require us to close for students for educational purposes. We've closed the whole campus, which is, I think, definitely fitting. So there should be no students on campus for any reason. MHSAA also sent notice that there should be no practices, and there should be no coordination at all. So we sent that out to coaches to try to remind them of that. A couple of tidbits here. The Open Meetings Act, there were some changes that have come down with some governor's orders related to that. There's some specifically that we can do remote, and regardless, Troon law helped to clarify some pieces. Regardless of what our policy says, all districts can allow remote voting. So our policy, which we just updated maybe a year and a half ago, we had voted not to to allow voting remotely. The governor's orders do kind of change that. So we can have a sort of virtual, have people connect and hear the discussions, and votes could happen if we choose to do that in the future. Meals to students, I wanted to make a comment about that. We have joined in along with many districts in providing meals to students. We have a document that can be accessed online and through social media where parents can say that they would like to have meals, and we have partnered with Thumb Area Transit to be able to provide those. So that has been a very, very nice partnership. So big kudos to Kathy Cook and her crew for coming in and preparing meals, and for TAT helping deliver meals, and for about a half dozen or so teaching staff members who said, I'm going to come in, and Pat Terrell, our head of transportation, said, I'm going to come in, I'll ride the TAP bus, and literally ride with the driver and help drop off the meals and make that smooth. So yesterday, I think yesterday, we had little over 50 students who were served meals yesterday, is just an example. We have yet to come some decisions that I hope we don't have to make, but we may have to make about what we do with hourly employees and continue to pay for hourly employees. If this extends past April 6th, we may have some decisions to make about hourly employees. And then I also thought I would mention to you two other pieces. Grading. Right now, we are providing instruction online in the model of it being supplemental, but not for the purpose of putting a grade in a grade book. There has been some information from Troon Law and some suggestions that there may be some problems if we were grading for a letter grade book as far as discrimination, sort of, if you think of it as haves and have-nots, who has access to, who does not have access to the technology that may allow them to be able to keep up with the learning. So as of right now, we're providing supplemental instruction online. If this extends longer, we will have to see how we address that. And the last piece is a good reminder that we had from MASA and Troon Law about student privacy issues, about how as a district, and we have to be careful about student rights. So what we can share about things that we discover along the way, about anything that would be personally identifiable for a student, we are not allowed to share. So if we were to have students who were tested positive, and heaven forbid that happens, we have some things we have to be careful about what we say for confidentiality reasons. And I could go into a myriad of other things. 2 or 3 things that I'd say real quick that, I guess, one other thing that I didn't mention. There is still some questions up in the air about what we're going to do about standardized testing across the state. MSTEP testing, ESAT, SAT testing, there's still a lot of questions about, is that going to be able to take place or not? And what's the ramifications of that not happening? So, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but those are some of the few things that we know.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Kathy Cook, is she the only one in the cafeteria staff, or is all her staff?
All her staff.
Okay, so should we have the whole staff plus 6 about
Yeah.
volunteers?
Yeah, there are 4 on her staff, and the 6 volunteers did not do any of the prep work. They came in just to help with the delivery.
Okay,
Yeah, so they were in just for that smidge of time.
so we need to give kudos to more than just Kathy.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, her whole group.
and the other 6 that came in
And
too.
the other 6 that came in, you're exactly right.
The meals that are delivered, are they delivered in town and out of town, or is it just out of town?
Everywhere that TAP would reach, so basically everywhere in Huron County that we would have a student who expressed need. And we reached out just a little bit further than maybe, I'm not sure what the requirement is, but we had a couple where we had preschool age students that, like 3-year-olds, who were not enrolled in our preschool, but if they had a sibling that was here, we made sure that they got a meal also. But yeah, we stretched north and south, all the borders of the district.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
May 20th bond election resolution withdrawal.
It's a recommendation of the superintendent that we withdraw our May bond election by passing a resolution. This is in accordance with the Governor Whitmer and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services recommendation related to May elections.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Okay, give you,
Yeah.
give you a little background. So, it would have been yesterday, Deb can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think it was Tuesday, I think it was yesterday. Clerk's office contacted us, both via email and phone call, saying that the change in that Governor Whitmer had, I'd say more than suggested, all but said explicitly that they will not be holding May elections. And because we had the potential, or we had the election for the roof project on the May ballot, that meant we needed to take action of some kind. We have to take action of some kind. In same day, yesterday, I was on and off the phone with Truon Law to see the recommendations that they would have for what we do. And basically, we have, as I understand it, we have three options. We could do a format that would be, we keep the May election, but it would be all via mail ballot. Now think along the lines of like an absentee ballot sort of format. We could move to an August election, or we could move to a November election. Those would be the three choices. I guess we could withdraw it completely as a fourth choice and not do it at all. Those pieces, the way that it was signed by Governor Whitmer, those pieces needed to be decided by this Friday at 4 o'clock. That's the reason we're having the meeting tonight, because there's a timeline from Wednesday around noon until 4 o'clock tomorrow that we need to make those difficult decisions. My recommendation is about as informed as I can be and trying to think about all the different angles. My recommendation is that we withdraw it, and we can come back at another meeting and pick August or November. My recommendation would be that we pick August as out of those combinations. But this is where we have a discussion and see what you feel.
What would the advantages be of having it in August?
In my opinion, I think we'll be past, I hope, we'll be way past this. I think August timeline is still close enough for us that, and right before school starts, I think it will be a good time to be able to have staff involved to what extent they can be. And everybody's kind of ramping back up for school, thinking about school. I think it's a good time to put something out there. A November time frame, there will be other things on the ballot in November, and that's something to consider too. So weighing all those combinations, it seems like August might be the best.
It's tough kind of do the roof, maybe we got some time back over.
Right, and if there would be a chance, I'm not one of the contractors, but there are areas of our building that if it was to pass, that could be done even while we have school. We know, like, for example, the former metal shop and wood shop, we don't have students in that area. I'm not a contractor, but it seems like those would be areas we could at least discuss, get them done, even if it tails into the beginning of the school year, because it may not disrupt too much. It's not an easy decision.
Well, what everything going on right now, I don't know, people can be going out and not be thinking about voting this bond issue, then after that.
And anytime you're talking about a bond issue, when people are worried about bigger things and dovetail into monetary things, financial stuff, it does feel like, May is going to be a tough time to ask anybody about a bond. Even if, as we've talked about, fundamentally it doesn't change their taxes because of the way that it's structured. No one would pay more than they're currently paying. It doesn't make it easy with what's happened over the last 2 weeks. So, go ahead.
You know, I was gonna say something.
Yeah.
So if we decide not to do the May election, when do we have to decide to do the August, if that's what we decide?
If we decide, if you're comfortable deciding tonight, that's the best combination, because I can take that information back to Truon Law and PFM, who helps us with the bonds, and tell them that we've made the decision to move that way. It moves everything forward pretty quickly. If not, we have to decide in our 8-9 meeting.
So playing devil's advocate, what happens if what's going on with our world currently, and it goes on, would we have to make the same decision in August or before August election to do what we're doing tonight with May?
I would assume.
Okay.
Yeah, if the governor does a similar pattern, I see, if I'm following what you're saying.
You are,
If everything gets moved back 4 months, we could be doing the same thing.
okay.
So we'll just pick a date for August, do we, or do we?
There is a date,
These elections.
I don't remember the date, though, do you have it?
Oh, okay.
It does feel like to me, if we just withdraw tonight, we're still in, we meet what we need to do tonight, unless you are definitive in saying, we want to do an August thing. Then there's no reason to kick the can. We'll say that, and then we'll work appropriately with you.
I don't think there's a reason not to pick the August tonight. Because come November, there's gonna be lots on the ballot.
Now, we may have to come back with some specific language, remember, before we had to do it,
So
some
it's just a draw
paperwork.
tonight, you know,
Yeah,
We don't have the resolution.
because we don't have the specific resolution, but if I knew, if we would draw it tonight, and I have a feeling from the board that we want to move forward with an August date, even if we haven't officially done it, then I'll work with Trune over the next couple of weeks and make sure that that paperwork is ready.
everybody happy with that? So it's been moved and supported and discussed it. With the roll call, it's all in favor. Al?
Yes.
Dr. Brennan not here. Jason?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Nancy?
Yes,
Steve's left out. Myself, yes. Cancellation of March 25th, 2020 board meeting.
It's a recommendation of the superintendent that we cancel the March 25th, that's next week Wednesday, board meeting in accordance with Governor Whitmer and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services recommendation. Thank you, guys.
support.
It's moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Do we have any information that may be coming up that we may still need to have that meeting next week?
Right now, no, but, and we've had them, we're required to have one meeting a month. We've already had that, and actually we've had two now that we've had the special meeting. The governor's recommendation, in my opinion, alludes to the fact that, you know, if you can eliminate people getting together, eliminate people getting together for the time being. I will 100%, I think I have got a good reputation, I hope I do, of communicating with you all about what's happening. So I'll continue to use our red light, yellow light, green light protocols from MASB and make sure you're communicated with. And if we have to call an emergency or special meeting, we can always do that. We just have to post it 18 hours ahead. But right now, probably, their recommendation is the less you get together, the better, and we've already met twice this month, so.
Is that it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Other